Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the debut of our brand new series, Eat Like a President. Today we are going behind the doors of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue during the golden age of Camelot to explore the food that fueled President John F. Kennedy and the style First Lady Jackie Kennedy brought to the White House. The Kennedys were a mix of New England simplicity. Think chowder and baked beans and high society French sophistication. And honestly, the food history here tells a fascinating story about politics, style, and one First Lady's incredible transformation of the White House kitchen. So grab a spoon, because we are about to dive into the dishes of the 35th president. And yes, we've got some actual recipes for you. Let's start with JFK himself. For a man who embodied youth and energy, his appetite was surprisingly modest. White House staff often had to remind him when dinner was ready, because his mind was always on politics. His breakfast was simple, the same for decades: poached eggs on toast, often Pepperidge Farm white toast. Crisp, oven-broiled bacon, never fried, because he couldn't handle fried food. He suffered from lifelong chronic gastrointestinal problems, specifically irritable bowel syndrome or colitis, and potentially undiagnosed celiac disease. These conditions were severely aggravated by greasy, sugary, and high-fiber foods. His breakfast also included a glass of orange juice and some marmalade. He was a creature of habit. Lunch was almost always a soup, sandwich, and fruit combo. But his favorite soup, a classic simple dish that roots him firmly in his Massachusetts upbringing, was New England fish chowder. This actual recipe he personally passed along to a young girl who wrote to him in 1961. It's all about fresh haddock, salt pork, potatoes, and a quart of milk. Pure classic Yankee comfort. We'll link to the full recipe below in the description of this video. Let's take a look at the letter and notations that I found in the archives. This was a copy that was sent back to Lynn. It reads, "Your nice letter to the president has been received, and he has asked me to tell you he certainly appreciates your friendly thought in the letter. In answer to your inquiry, one of the president's favorite dishes is fish chowder. With the thought that you might like to have it, I am enclosing the recipe. I am also sending along a photograph of the president, which will come with his best wishes." When the president originally received the letter, it was annotated with, "The letter was written by a handicapped girl. Please reply to her. She will be extremely happy. Do not mention anything in the letter about her handicap, please." For dinner, the president liked basic American fare: lamb chops, steak, baked chicken, and mashed potatoes. His inner New Englander always showed up with his fondness for seafood and baked beans. A favorite White House side would be corn muffins, a taste he shared with a much older predecessor, Calvin Coolidge. And when he did eat dessert, he preferred chocolate. Although I was not able to find the recipe that they used, but a general New England style corn muffin recipe would include yellow cornmeal, all-purpose flour, buttermilk or milk, eggs, a small amount of sugar. Although this is not the way they make it in the South. They don't add sugar. And baking powder and or baking soda. Another favorite was ice cream, especially peach and vanilla from Four Seasons Ice Cream in Centerville, Massachusetts. The Kennedys were regulars there for years. And get this, the shop is still in business. Now let's talk about Jackie. If JFK's taste was simple New England, Jackie's was pure French elegance. She saw the White House as the stage for American culture, and she was determined to elevate the food from the bland, old-school American cooking of the past. She famously hired Chef René Verdun, a classically trained French chef, to take over the White House kitchens. This was a huge deal. Verdun introduced dishes like chicken with tarragon and elegant sauces, literally putting French cuisine on the American map and changing how Washington, D.C. dined. The food became so sophisticated that there was a minor controversy. Critics complained the White House was becoming too French. JFK had to ask that the menus be printed in English first to settle things down. But Jackie's personal eating habits were much more restrictive. Her former assistant detailed her daily routine: hard-boiled eggs and tea for breakfast, cottage cheese and fresh fruit for lunch, and lean poached chicken or fish with a salad for dinner. This was a time when the pressure to be thin was intense, and many reports suggest Jackie watched her weight with extreme discipline. There are even rumors that at one point she'd eat just a single potato with sour cream and caviar per day, though this is likely exaggerated. She did, however, have a few simple indulgences. After a meal, her favorite dessert might be a fruit-based sweet like peach cardinal. And later in life, her guilty pleasure at home was a little less glamorous: Jiffy Pop with a cocktail in the evening. Now for dessert, let's look at the famous cream cheese and strawberry delight, a fruity, creamy favorite of the president, and the famous Jackie Kennedy brownie recipe that pops up everywhere on the internet. I'm not quite sure where this recipe came from, whether it came from the White House kitchen or Jackie herself. But to be honest with you, I have a hard time imagining Jackie cooking at all. But the cream cheese and strawberry delight is a great fluffy chiffon type strawberry dessert. I'll put a link to the recipe down in the description of this video. I wasn't able to find a reliable source to prove the brownie recipe is actually Jackie's, but whether it's authentic or just a delicious piece of Kennedy lore, it is a perfect excuse to bake a classic fudgy brownie. I will also include a link to this recipe in the video description. So there you have it, a taste of the Kennedy White House, a fascinating culinary clash between JFK's simple regional favorites and Jackie's push for a refined, modern, and French-inspired American table. We've got the full recipes for the President Kennedy's New England fish chowder and the cream cheese and strawberry delight and brownies linked in the description below. So make sure you check those out and let me know if you've ever tried these recipes before. Which first family should we eat like next? The Roosevelts? The Reagans? Let me know down in the comments. If you loved this peek into food history, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell so you don't miss our next chapter in vintage culinary exploration. Thank you for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.